sin and problems and having children and leaving them, whatever, can they, in their later part of life, change their life around and really sort of make up for all their wrongs? Can that be done? I'd love to hear what the Bible has to say about that.
Okay, very good.
Anyway, thank you for your time. I really enjoy your program, and God bless.
Thank you, Robert. We appreciate your calling in from the Golden State.
That's right. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
And, Jonathan, that sets a new mark for us. Somebody calling in who wasn't on the phone already, calling in from way across the country at 4:50 in the morning just to be a part of things. So we appreciate that. Thank you, Robert. Jonathan, we are nearly out of time, so we need to try and wrap this up as quickly as we can. The context of slavery and servitude that we've talked about throughout this entire 2 hours is very different than the context that we here today in 2007 are used to when we hear the word. When we hear the word, we conjure up an image, and that is not the scriptural biblical image of servitude. In the New Testament, the idea was to serve in the capacity you were stuck in. I mean, under Roman rule, there was a very, very heavy hand of law in place. And the Apostle Paul specifically was not trying to create a revolt. He was giving Christians the ability to adjust their own thinking to honor God in whatever their circumstance was. And that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And Jonathan, Fred, how much time do we have before we close here?
About 4 minutes.
Okay. The last question we really didn't get to very well. If God didn't advocate slavery, why did he allow it? So if we might here, let's see if we can go through that. If we go back, and we don't have time to read all the scriptures, but we go back to the original curse put upon mankind, there were elements of this curse. What were they, Jonathan?
Well, they were...
We're on 11.
Adam would have to work from the sweat of his brow.
Right. The ground was cursed because of him.
That's right. In toil you shall eat all the days of your life.
And even in the toil, it's going to bring forth thorns and thistles.
That's right.
And by the sweat of your face.
That's right. Lots of work.
So it was a difficult environment. We move forward here, and in that difficult environment, we see, the Cain and Abel story. We see the story of jealousy, and we see the story of man against man, and man sort of dominating over man. And and this adds to, as man entered into the sinful state, this adds to the condition of the sinfulness that we all inherited. We live in a sinful world. We live in a world that's not just, it's not merciful, it's not loving. And obviously not run by wisdom either. So in this world of sin, you have, God gave man originally the ability to have dominion over the fish of the sea and the fowl of the air and the cattle and over all the earth. What man has done in a sinful state is taken that dominion over the God's green earth and expanded it to dominion of a man over another man.
That's right.
God did not create slavery. Let's understand this. God allowed it, just like he allowed sin, just like he allowed death, just like he allowed greed, just like he allowed, and when you go to the beginning of all those things, Satan to rule the way he would want to rule. He allowed that to happen. The good news of that is only for a period of time. That is only a portion of our history. That's the history that's past. There is a history yet to be written that's very different. And Jonathan, you go to the middle of 12, Isaiah 61, 1 and 2 is a really good place to go here.
The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me. He has sent me to bring good news to the oppressed, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives and release to the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn.
Now think about that. To bring good news to the oppressed. Doesn't that sound like those who are in servitude? To bind up the brokenhearted. To proclaim liberty to the captives. How about that? To release the prisoners. How about that? To comfort all who mourn. See, there is a future time, a future perspective that brings us to a much bigger and better place. And why don't you read Jeremiah 31, 29 to 34? We have a minute, so go.
In those days they shall say no more, the Father have eaten a sour grape, and the children's teeth are set on edge. But every one shall die for his own iniquity. Every man that eateth a sour grape, his teeth shall be set on edge. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith the Lord. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my law in their inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more.
And Jonathan, as we wrap this up, the context here is slavery, servitude, and God's perspective. And all that God allowed is for the ultimate benefit of the race of mankind. Now, does it feel good in the process if you're one of those that's under the thumb? Of course not. But we can all be assured that that scripture in Jeremiah is something that will come to pass in the future, and all will be given equal chance at life, and there will be no slavery, servitude, but every man for himself. For Jonathan and Rick, this is Christian Questions. We'll be back again next week, but until then, God did not ever advocate slavery. Think about it.